Hey guys, it's Kingdom Orange 2 here, and welcome back to my channel. Because a lot of Beauty and the Beast movies don't make drastic changes to their plots from the fairy tale, I'm gonna frame this video similar to the Little Mermaid one. I will start by first telling the story of Beauty and the Beast by Jeanne Beaumont, then compare all of the beauties to it, and end the video with my rankings. Also, like always, if you guys know any Belles that I've missed, feel free to comment them down below. So, with that all out of the way, before the enchanted rose loses its last petal, let's get right into it. Beauty and the Beast. The 1756 fairy tale opens with a widowed merchant who lives in a mansion with his 6 children, 3 sons and 3 daughters, with the youngest daughter being the kindest and most beautiful. One day, they lose all of their money after the house burns down and their ships get lost in a storm at sea. The merchant and his family are forced to move to a small cottage in the countryside, and while his 2 eldest daughters struggle to adjust to their new lifestyle, Beauty always maintains a positive attitude and cheery disposition. 2 years later, the merchant overhears that one of his trade ships has arrived back at the port, having survived the storm. Before leaving, he questions his children if they would like any gifts, and while the 2 oldest sisters beg their father for jewels and expensive clothing, Beauty asks only for a rose. Unfortunately though, the merchant finds that a ship's cargo was seized to pay off his debts and decides to return home. On his way back, he encounters a terrible storm. Looking for a place to seek shelter, the merchant stumbles upon a castle which he presumes to be empty. Inside he finds tables full of food and decides to spend the night. The next morning, the merchant finds a garden, and as he's plucking a rose for Beauty, he's confronted by a hideous beast. The beast is intent on killing the merchant, as he's angry about him trying to steal one of his most prized possessions. The merchant explains that the rose was for his youngest daughter and begs the beast to spare his life. The beast agrees to not only spare the merchant's life, but also send him home with various other jewels and clothes, but on the condition that he returns back to the palace with one of his daughters. The merchant agrees and heads home, where he tells his children about his crazy journey. While his sons beg their father to let him go after the beast, the merchant dissuades them from doing so, and Beauty agrees to take her father's place at the beast's palace. For several months, Beauty lives the life of luxury at the beast's castle, and every night at dinner, the beast asks her for her hand in marriage. Every night, though, Beauty refuses, as she cannot look past the beast's gruesome appearance. After a while though, Beauty begins to grow homesick and begs the beast to allow her to go and see her family again. He agrees and gives Beauty an enchanted ring which allows her to transport herself back home, but tells Beauty that she must return in a week's time or he will die of a broken heart. Back at her house, Beauty's sisters become even more jealous of her good looks, and after a week is up, successfully convince Beauty into staying longer, hoping that the beast will grow so angry that he will kill her. One night though, Beauty has a dream of the beast dying alone and decides to return to his castle. There she discovers that her worst fears come true and the beast is lying in the garden almost unconscious. Beauty cries out to the beast that she actually loves him and will become his bride, and before her eyes the beast transforms into a handsome prince. Prince explains to Beauty that many years ago he was cursed by an evil fairy to remain a beast until a beautiful woman would agree to marry him. The 2 of them go and tie the knot, and as a punishment for their wickedness, the fairy transforms Beauty's sisters into statues. Now before we go on, there is something very important I need to tell you guys. The version I read to you is actually the 1756 story written by Jeanne Beaumont. The original story of Beauty and the Beast was actually written in 1740 by a woman named Gabrielle Villeneuve. Villeneuve's version is very long and contains a 3rd act that takes place after Beauty and the Beast are married. However, while Beaumont's publishing is way more popular and most films are only based on that version of the story, the reason why I brought this up is because a lot of entries on this list contain a part of the story that's only mentioned in Villeneuve's version of events, which is that every night after dinner, Beauty has dreams of a handsome prince and a magical fairy who tells her not to be deceived by others' appearances. Alright, so we're gonna start off with Disney. In 1991, the Walt Disney Company decided to release their own version of the 1756 fairy tale with Disney's Beauty and the Beast. This movie is iconic for a variety of reasons, but especially for its changes to the original fairy tale, like the creation of the villain Gaston, the Enchanted Rose backstory, or the introduction of the Beast's talking object servants. Now, since most of you can probably recite this film by heart, I want to instead focus on things that originate from Disney's version that other companies in this list will usually copy or for sure be inspired by. For starters, Belle has brown hair, so a lot of other films will make their beauties also have brown hair. And while this isn't a crime in itself, I do find it very strange that when Belle is brunette in their franchises, the rest of the princesses are blonde, which highly resembles the old Disney princess lineup. There's also the fact that movies will often copy other details about Belle herself, like her dress color and style, her hair length and style, and even the shade of brunette hair Disney uses. Additionally, they will often copy the appearance of Disney's beasts as well, but this video specifically focuses on beauty, so I didn't really want to go there. Burbank Animation. In this 1996 mockbuster, Beauty lives with her father, but instead of 3 older brothers and sisters, she has a bratty older sister named Rowena or something hideous, and a doofus older brother named Julius. Even though they lost all their wealth, they still have a maid in this movie, which I thought was really strange until I realized in the original Fairytale, Beauty and her family are still able to afford a maid for some reason. Regardless, this version of the movie follows the original Fairytale closely, but also has a majestic fairy that visits Beauty in her dreams. She's the one who tells her not only about her father getting sick, but also how the Beast is about to die. The movie ends with Beauty and the Beast getting married, but also Beauty telling the audience that in the end, the Beast restored her father's wealth, but forced her sister and brother to live at the farmhouse for a year as a punishment for their bad behavior. Also, before we move on, this movie has the funniest scene of Beast throwing a fit after Beauty refuses to marry him. Ever After High. While Beauty doesn't make an appearance in the series, the quote-unquote role of Beauty goes to her daughter, Rosabella Beauty. In Ever After High, Rosabella Beauty is a bookworm who has a strong passion for animal rights and activism. She's also the cousin of Briar Beauty because Sleeping Beauty and Beauty are sisters in this universe, even though that technically doesn't really make any sense. Anyways, the story of Beauty and the Beast actually somewhat plays out in the TV special Epic Winter, where Daring Charming is transformed into a beast after he upsets the cursed Snow King. During the journey to find the 4 Rosens of the seasons, Rosabella shows Daring how to be a kinder person and how to care for other people. At the end of the special, Daring pledges himself to be Fabelle's replacement to do hard labor, and this act of selflessness not only deems the contract void, but also restores Daring to his natural self. Fairytale Police Department. So like I've said before, every episode of Fairytale Police Department features a fairytale going awry and detectives Christine and Johnny having to step in and try and get the story back on track. Now in this episode, word of Beauty's good looks spread across the land and many suitors won her hand in marriage. Christine, Johnny, and Wanda disguise themselves as staff members to keep a better eye on the suitors as they make their way to Beast Castle. Fortunately for them, Beauty is unimpressed with many of the suitors' obnoxiousness and narcissism, as Beast proves himself to be a kind and considerate person. The detectives help the Beast put on a beautiful dinner for Beauty, and she begins to realize that the Beast is the perfect match for her, with the episode ending with the spell being broken on the Beast, therefore setting the fairy tale back on track. Golden Films. Golden Films is another company that in the 1990s made a ton of mockbusters trying to trick unsuspecting old people into thinking they were Disney movies. In this film, Beauty lives with her 2 sisters and 2 older brothers, with her sisters being ugly and very similar in appearance to Anastasia and Drizella from Disney's Cinderella. Now just like the Disney movie, the film contains a scene of Beauty and the Beast dancing in the ballroom, something that was never mentioned in the original fairy tale. But one thing that is very unique about this version of Beauty and the Beast are the 2 fairy characters. One fairy is an old woman named Clara, who serves as the castle's only worker. The other is a gorgeous lady who appears twice to Beauty in a dream, warning her that the Beast is actually evil and many girls have died in his castle before. However, at the end of the movie, we find out that not only was the pretty lady evil, but that she and Clara are actually sisters, and now that her curse has been broken, she's powerless. GoodTimes Entertainment. I believe GoodTimes Entertainment and Golden Films are actually the same company, but regardless, in 1999 they created another version of Beauty and the Beast. Unsurprisingly, this is an even closer copycat to the Disney movie, with scenes that are only in the Disney film being copied straight into this version. For example, just how Gaston gets the villagers to storm the Beast castle, Beauty's jealous 3 older sisters do the same thing. There's also a scene where Beauty finds her father in a cell in the Beast castle, a storyline that comes directly from Disney's movie. This film is also a musical with a ton of horrible numbers, even though the sister song is low-key kind of a bop. However, instead of having talking servant objects, this movie has 3 ghosts. And it's really sad because the 3 of them are actually people that died from starvation and can't go to heaven until the Beast's curse is broken. Yeah, it's a bit of a traumatic side story for a kids movie. Grimm's Fairytale Classics. So Grimm's Fairytale Classics is a Japanese animated anthology show that was released in the late 1980s. One thing this show was known for was taking a lot of liberties with their retellings of popular fairy tales, but in all honesty, none of the changes they made to the story were really that good. For some weird reason, the main character is called Maria, even though her name is literally in the damn title of this book. Also, the writers decided to kill off Maria's dad for drama, I guess. I don't know, a lot of people asked me to check out this show, and I will say that I found this episode to be boring and disappointing, but maybe the other episodes are better. Regal Academy. In Regal Academy, Beauty is one of the professors. She's so rarely seen on the show, with the reason being is that her grandson is Travis Beast and his grandfather is also a teacher at Regal Academy, so they usually take up the screen time. And again, you can clearly tell this design was heavily inspired by Disney's Belle, especially when it comes to the hair color and panels in her ball gown. Ruby Spears Animation. I don't really understand who Ruby Spears Animation was, but apparently in the 80s they worked on a couple of Scooby-Doo movies. Regardless, they were some of the first people to create an animated Beauty and the Beast film that was released in 1983. Now, just like always, it's pretty close to the original fairy tale, but the movie had some pretty interesting plot changes, like having Beauty's sisters steal the ring from her so that she wasn't able to return to the Beast Castle. The brothers also encounter an old woman in the forest who heavily resembles the evil queen in Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Also, coincidentally, Beauty in the movie has a sister named Rowena, which is the exact same name as her sister in the Burbank Animation film. It's a bit bizarre because nowhere in the fairy tale is that name ever given for Beauty's older sisters. Simsala Grimm. Simsala Grimm is an animated German TV show where the two protagonists, Doc Doc and Yo-Yo, are the show's narrators, but also participate in the fairy tales themselves. In the Beauty and the Beast episode, they're the ones who lead Beauty's father into the Beast Castle, as well as tell Beauty that she needs to return back to the castle to prevent his death. Now, the episode really steals a lot of elements from the Disney movie. I mean, just look at their version of Beauty. She's practically a cheap knockoff of Belle. They also somewhat copy the Enchanted Rose storyline, but it's really confusing for me to try and explain, so I'm not even really gonna bother here. Regardless though, I would say that overall, I still really enjoyed watching their version of this fairy tale. So the last franchise we're gonna look at today is Wolves, Witches, and Giants. So Wolves, Witches, and Giants is a British TV show from the 90s where one of those three characters will take the role of a similar character in each of the episode's fairy tales. For example, the same witch will play the witch in Rapunzel, but also the sea witch in The Little Mermaid, if that makes sense. Anyways, in this episode, the wolf plays the role of the Beast in Beauty and the Beast. Now, since it's only 9 minutes long, they heavily shorten the story and also add a bunch of weird modern references, like the Beast mentioning how he gave the merchant a copy of the Wall Street Journal. There's also this odd backstory of the Beast having his body swapped with the wolf, which I didn't really care for, but regardless, I felt like they were able to tell a pretty decent story in a very, very short amount of time. Now it's time for the rankings. Number 11 is Wolves, Witches, and Giants. First of all, this story is called Beauty and the Beast and not the Ugly Duckling. This Beauty looks like a reject background character from Bob's Burgers. Also, the person who narrates her voice sounds as if he had too much to drink. Number 10 is Regal Academy. Since Beauty rarely makes an appearance in this show, it was really hard to not only find clips of her, but also make a good judgment on her personality. Regardless though, her design is just another Disney ripoff. Number 9 is Grimm's Fairytale Classics. Not only did I think it was absurdly stupid for them to name their Beauty Maria, I thought this version of Beauty and the Beast was really boring. What also doesn't help her is that she kind of looks and sounds like a 12-year-old, and while I didn't find her to be outrageously unlikable, most of the other beauties on this list are just way better. Number 8 is Burbank Animation. The Beauty in this movie reminds me of like a caring mom, but in the worst way possible, if that makes sense. Her voice actress makes Beauty sound like she's 45, and I don't understand the outfit choice the animators went with here. Like, why does she look like she's in the 1950s? Number 7 is Fairytale Police Department. So the Beauty in this show suffers the same issue with Little Mermaid, and that's having an annoying British accent. However, it's not as unbearable to listen to. One thing that I really loved about this Beauty is the fact that when she sees the Beast for the first time, she runs away screaming, because if that's not truly iconic, then I don't know what is. Number 6 is GoodTimes Entertainment. I've watched this movie almost twice, and I still can't remember a thing about this version of Beauty besides the fact that she is a cat. I don't really know if that's necessarily a good or bad thing, but since this Beauty doesn't really bother me all that much, I placed her in the middle of the list. Number 5 is Simsala Grimm. The beauty in this show is such a Belle ripoff in both appearance and personality. However, it's a bit refreshing to see a beauty who isn't that much of a pick-me. I really like her voice actress, it fits her age very well, and I found her to be one of the most reasonable and rational beauties on this list. Number 4 is Ruby Spears Animation. The only reason I placed Ruby Spears Animation so high is because I appreciate the amount of effort that the animators put into their costume designs. Beauty in this movie has a ton of interesting dresses, and it's refreshing to see a totally unique but also gorgeous design for her. Number 3 is Ever After High. So my main problem with Rosabella is that at times she can be a bit overbearing, and I found her conversation with the daring to come across annoying and motherly. Regardless though, she's one of the most developed beauties on this list, and you can't really help but find her likable. Now I do often go back and forth as to whether or not I think her design is a ripoff of Disney's, and even though I gave Mattel a lot of crap for Michelle Mermaid, for some strange reason I can almost give them a pass on Rosabella. Maybe it's because at first glance I don't find it so blatantly obvious what Fairytale character she is. Number 2 is Golden Films. So I'll be honest, this probably is a bit of nostalgia blinding me, because in all fairness, she really isn't that unique of a beauty on this list. However, not only did I really enjoy the film, but I absolutely love Belle's ball gown design. I mean, just look how stunning it is, especially the amazing floral crown. She does suffer a bit from being a bore, but this is my list, so she's staying at second place. Number 1 is Disney. I'll be completely honest with you, Belle is probably one of my least favorite Disney princesses. However, like for example, Beyonce, just because I don't listen to her music doesn't mean I don't appreciate her impact in artistry, and that's the same situation here. I can't argue that Belle isn't impactful or that her design isn't anything but beautiful, and millions of people really love the Disney film. I just feel like she really needs to loosen up a bit. If you liked this video today and want to see more content in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and I will see you soon. Bye!